Well, welcome, Ulrik Ask Fossum, to the Deeply Aligned podcast. It's good to have you here.
Thank you so much. Fun to be here.
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to these conversations with you, having conversations on a more personal level. As I just have this feeling that there's a lot more depth to you than meets the eye, and I say that from a good way. Where almost every day I'm glancing over at you at Nirvana, where we're working out, and I'm seeing these beautiful hand balancing poses, and it's truly impressive what you're capable of doing, not only on two hands, but on one hand as well, and I'm sure many people would agree. And I would argue, from my humble perspective, that you seem to be one of the best hand balancers in the world.
Oh, no.
With the signum, truly, when it comes to like the one-arm handstands.
Oh, I have to explain something to you.
Yeah.
You can do a handstand, right?
Right.
Your level are here.
Yeah.
My level are here. The best in the world are here. You are closer to my level than I am to the best in the world.
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating.
Gotcha.
So there's a whole big world of hand balancing that is not so available unless you kind of are in the hand balancing culture.
Yeah.
So I understand your perspective from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole world that is unseen from you. And if you see them, you will also see that, okay, this is something different. Again.
Some blind spots there.
But as an amateur, my level is pretty good.
Yeah. No. But yeah, it's truly impressive though. And basically giving some context on who you are, I guess, back to how it all started, because you do have learned the handstand at least as an adult.
Yep.
So walk us back a bit on how it all started and what got you into it in the first place.
That's a big and long story, but we have a lot of time, so I'll get back to it. I'm now 32. I started when I was 21, so it's been 11 years training handstands.
Yeah.
And when I started, I was in a place where I was my personality trait is that I need something to focus on. And I really always want to push the limits on how far I can take things.
I get that feeling.
Yeah. So when I discovered handstands, I was running marathons because I knew that it was very challenging. I know that you can push your limits and really struggle for something, and that's attractive to me. And I started marathons again because I have an operated hip, and my physiotherapist told me as a joke, you cannot run marathons. And I was like, I'm gonna fucking run marathons. Yeah, like that kid attitude. Yeah. So I ran 4 marathons. But
4 also, not 1, but 4.
No, every year I did like the same kind of marathon. It was around this time here, a spring marathon. Yeah. And I was always training up to it and try to beat my time and stuff.
Was that back in Norway? Or?
I was back in Norway when I was a rebel kid. And then on the last training towards marathon, I realized that this isn't sustainable. I literally ruined my body training up to it and then crash completely after it. So this isn't something that can be done year after year after year, at least not in a healthy way. So I was thinking that I need to find something new that I'm inspired to do. And alongside with the marathons, I also did strength training and fitness. But I didn't like the end result. The end result of fitness is that you are looking in a mirror and oh, damn, that's a sexy six-pack. You take those photos, you may be on a stage or something. That's not it. No. That's not deep enough. I want something that has less to do with how I look also. And then at some point I discovered calisthenics. I saw Hannibal for King, Bar Stars, Ido Portal, gymnastic bodies, and that kind of culture grow. And some time along there, I found UlrikOnHands, Yuval Alon.
Right, I see him now.
Yeah, I saw a photo of him. The photo that I have tattooed on my leg. I have 2 tattoos, Yuval and a Ferrari logo. And then I was so impressed by both his physique, and also I saw some YouTube clips of how his training actually looked like. He did block walks, up and down blocks. He did one-arm handstand. He did a bunch of press to handstand push-ups and all that stuff. And I was like, it's possible to train for this. My association before that to handstand was like it's some kind of magic that you're born with, and if you're born with it, you're in circus. That's how it works. And then that opened my eyes to that world, and I started to like kick up and fall, 10,000 times. Started YouTube, like how do you kick up into a handstand? Found some average tutorials there. There was very little content out 11 years ago that was solid. Right. But I got myself to like a straight freestanding handstand. And then I was introduced to a hand balancer, a Norwegian professional hand balancer, who I trained together with. And I saw him stand on one arm, jump to the other arm, and I was like, whoa, mind blown. And then we did some trainings together, and he told me about new moves that I had no perception of doing or understanding. And at some point, I asked him if he wanted to coach me. And he's like, I haven't done that before, but let's try. So we started online coaching together, and he kind of turned into my mentor for the next 3-4 years. Got me to understand the base core principles, bust my balls when I was wrong on something. He did not let me think something is wrong. So when I thought that, oh, I feel it in my core, or I feel something is off there, and he's like, no, it's your shoulders. Yeah, but my core, no, it's your fucking shoulders. You have to push harder.
Direct communication and tough love, discipline.
Yes. Yeah, but it was all that I needed. As a young kid, you think you know the best, and then you know somebody's on that very high level and tells you difference. Then you learn from that. So that was my introduction to hand balancing. And then at the same time as I started, I also started to work as a personal trainer. So I worked with people doing like normal fitness kind of training. And then after some years, I also did Instagram from the very beginning. So people started to see that I got in progress, getting towards one arms, getting some time on one arm. And then somebody suddenly asked me on DM, like, do you do online coaching? And I was like, yes, I do online coaching. And then that
from the start, it was a hobby, but then it was nothing more than a hobby from the very, very start.
I didn't know what it was going to turn into. I had no idea. It just, the ball started to roll. I started with one online client, and then another few came. And then I started to like present to people that I can teach you online if you want to. And then same thing with live sessions. When I train, people see me every day doing the same kind of things and improving. And then suddenly people ask me if I do this as a personal trainer. And then I started with one-to-one live teaching. And this just continued to roll. And suddenly somebody asked me if I do workshops. A Russian yoga woman asked me if I wanted to host a workshop in Rome with her.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, of course I do workshops. I want to go to Rome.
Definitely. A big yes,
Yeah, so that's like 7 years ago.
Wow.
And then I was in Rome talking in front of 30 yogis. It got translated to Italian and Russian, everything I said. I was so far out of my comfort zone. But then it started. And that went on for some years. Continued to travel around the world, teaching more workshops, more online focus. But I still had that personal trainer job. Until the company that I was hired in as a personal trainer got sold to a bigger company who had a lot worse terms, because my terms was really good as a personal trainer. And I was like, fuck this, I quit. I'm going to do only hand balancing as a coach.
And this was about how far in, you said?
I quit my job 2019. Spring. So that's more or less 5 years ago right now. And then I moved to Vienna. And stayed there for a while, and started to develop more systems and to make it more sustainable to actually make a living from doing this. And now my coaching is going really well. But now we're talking more about coaching and training. But it's kind of the same thing, because in order to be able to train, you need to be able to have a lifestyle that supports it. If I were to work 8 hours a day, I cannot train 5 hours a day. Like it simply doesn't work. There's not enough hours in it. But as a coach, you have more flexibility. People are paying more for your knowledge than explicitly your time. So now I have time to do the training that that makes me be able to do high level skills.
Couldn't agree more. And we're gonna get back to that part. Going back a little bit, I'm thinking, as you've been sharing your journey here from the start, it's like, when it comes to alignment, of finding that, one question is usually about, does one find their passion, or does the passion find you? And in this case,
That's a good
it
one.
almost sounds like the passion kind of found you without you.
I-
Well, both, I guess, both, but yeah. What would you-
I believe that the quality that one has to become really good is a characteristic. I think that hand balancing is my way of using that characteristic. Before hand balancing, there was something else.
Yeah.
And before that, there was something else.
Yeah.
A kind of different project that I've been taking far beyond what is normal.
That characteristic you would say is like pushing the limit or outside the comfort zone? Or?
Yes, it's kind of passion, determination,
Yeah.
The ability to execute.
Yeah.
That's combined. And I can tell you when I discovered this, because that's a pretty funny story. I was overweight until I was 16.
Yeah.
Before I found my passion and discovered that thing, and then I wanted to do a skydive when I was 16.
Okay.
But
when
there
you were
was
16 already?
Yeah, when I was 16,
Okay.
because I had a very boring.
You were a rebel, huh?
Yeah, I've been working my entire life.
Yeah.
I had my first job when I was like 8, and I kept working. So I had a very boring job when I was 16, a summer job, and I wanted to like shake it up by doing a skydive. And then I was on the website, like signed my name, my height, and everything, and then I come to the weight. And my weight at that time was 106 kilos. And the maximum weight you could to do skydive was 95 kilos. So I needed to lose 11 kilo in order to skydive. So I signed up in 4 months, and like, I'm going to lose those kilos to skydive.
Yeah.
And then I did, and I did the skydive. That's when I kind of discovered that, like, okay, I can do things. Let's see how far I can take this.
Right. The power of setting my mind to something. you know,
Yes.
like-
And then the skydiving was fun, so I signed up for the skydiver's license when I was 17. So I spent 1 week at a jump site, and there I met a very interesting guy. He drove up, he came in a Ferrari,
yeah.
and I was like, I've been a Ferrari fan since I was 4 years old, and I could say Ferrari.
Yeah.
I was like, always when I've seen it, even before I knew like it's a status thing, I was just impressed by the sound, the amazing shapes and the driving
speed as
ability.
well, or?
Yeah, of course, speed, everything. It was so appealing to me. And when he came with Ferrari, I was like, he has to be a millionaire. He has to be super rich. And I asked him about it, and he was like, no, I have a normal job. I just always wanted a Ferrari, and I've been working my ass off to get that Ferrari. And they're less expensive for the used one than you might think, was what he told me back then. And I was like, okay. And then he actually pulled up the used car site in front of me. And then he showed me the numbers of what one nice Ferrari costs. And back then it wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
Like it was what will be $50,000 approximately for a model that I think was really cool.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm going to buy a Ferrari. That was my next thing. Like,
Next thing.
yeah. And I'm going to buy it before I turn 20.
Yeah.
I have 3 years to save up that amount of money. I have no idea how to do it yet, but I'll find it out.
Yeah.
And then I was super inspired. I worked a lot in some summer jobs and stuff, but that wasn't enough. I found a creative way to earn a shitload of cash.
I remember reading one of these posts
Yeah.
on your Instagram. Yeah, and it's an amazing story.
Because
Please
I was
share.
so demotivated. I was like, I'll do whatever as long as it's legal.
Yeah.
And the way that I did it was that there was a chain store in Norway called Kiwi, which had a commercial that said, if you buy bad fruit and vegetables from us, like rotten or something, and it doesn't show that it's bad until you got home or something,
Yeah.
you get twice the money back on the spot, no
Yeah.
questions asked. So I went to Kiwi, and I found that there was 7 Kiwis around my neighborhood, or like a bicycle distance. So every day after school, or every other day after school, I went from Kiwi to Kiwi, found all the rotten fruits and vegetables, bought it on the spot, got twice the money back.
What was the vision here? The picture is like you coming there with a backpack or a bag, or
No, you don't need to take it with you.
Yeah.
So I roll in the store with a shopping cart. I go through the fruit section. I look at every pack of grapes, because if there's one moldy grape in the whole pack, you
right.
get paid for the whole pack.
Yeah.
And I learned how to figure out if the avocados are bad. And I basically learned all the fruits that comes in packages. And if there's even a tiny thing that's bad, twice the money. And I got really good at it. So I got good at spotting the bad stuff. And on a day, I earned between $200 to $500 doing
Wow.
that.
That's a good.
Every other day after school for a year. So I bought the Ferrari the year after.
Wow. I mean, and that's also like kind of showcases, I guess, your entrepreneurial side, if one will. Because today, I mean, there's so many pieces to you being a hand balancing coach, but, you know, the discipline and the work ethic and stuff like there. But then also, one always needs some kind of entrepreneurial side too. And that seems like that was always part of you
At
as
least
well.
if you want to some sort of security or a lifestyle that have things that are fun and nice, I guess.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider myself to be rich in any way, but I think I have a lifestyle that is, for me, comfortable. I have a little apartment, I have a Ducati, a fun motorcycle, and I don't think too much about money in my everyday. And that's, I'm not sure how successful it is, but I know a lot of hand balancers who are only good at hand balancing, who are not good at business, and they struggle because they cannot make a proper income. So when you have the mix of one skill that you're good at and also have found a way to make a money from doing it or helping others in a way, that's sustainable.
Definitely. I mean, there's so many coaches or online coaches out there who are really good at what they do, but then they still struggle with making their business go around. And
I'm sure.
the definition of success in my book, and I know in your book too, that's why we resonate a bit with each other, is that it's definitely about that freedom lifestyle, or it's not about the money, but what the money can give you. So you're able to spend the time on what you really value. Right?
Absolutely.
Which kind of comes back to the alignment piece again of, you know, what truly matters for us, and what is like, I guess, a path or a lifestyle that is suitable to us.
Very important. And for me, I really value flexibility, both in time and in where I want to be. So right now we are in Bali. And talking
instead of Norway
like
or Sweden.
Exactly. And I had no idea I was going to be in Bali up until 3 weeks before I went here. And I have the flexibility to do that while staying in work. This is not a vacation. I've been there for 2 months and I've been working, and I've been having a great time as well.
It's a good life balance in a sense. You know, what they call like this good life-work balance. But
yes, absolutely.
No, amazing. Thanks for sharing. I'm thinking, you know, once again, going back to alignment here, of how would you define alignment, or being deeply aligned, or how would you advise people to sort of find their passion? Like, do you feel like there's a way of going about that, or is it about testing things and experimenting?
That's a very good one. Because I don't know if what I have done or am doing is something that everybody can do, or if it's something that is specific to a different people characteristic. I wish I knew, but I know that if everybody in the world only did kind of this way, that's not sustainable for the society. So I think that you have to be willing to take a lot of risks, because I have risked security by not going through the educational system. I love the principle of education, but I was too distracted when I was a kid to go far in that. I wanted to do it, but now I don't have an education. I don't have any safety net. I've never wanted a safety net, because I think it's so much more exciting to push yourself without having one. But that's not for everyone. But I believe that I can, if I fuck up, I will find my way back again. I've fucked up many times. I found my way over it, around it, or through it in one way. If you have that characteristic, if you don't let yourself like crash completely when stuff gets bad, then that's one very important quality to have.
Definitely.
And then having passion for something, and see if you're good at it as well. Many people are passionate about stuff they're not good at all, and are not able to become good at, and then there's no way to generate some sort of sustainable lifestyle around it. So if you're good at it and you're passionate about it, or at least you have the quality to become good at it. Like if you're not talented at all in any way within a specific thing, then maybe that is not that thing to capitalize on when it comes to how you choose to make your living. Maybe it's something you can do for fun, but
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if everybody can be able to make a living out of their specific passion, or if it's better to go through the normal route of finding a high-paying job, and then you can have your passion as a side project.
Right.
So
there's definitely many ways to go about it. And yeah, this has been on my mind for a long time, I think, and I'm passionate about trying to figure this out. I was speaking to my girlfriend the other day. I was like, what is a safety net? Because a safety net could be, like you said, an education or money in the bank. That's usually the natural or the common safety net.
Yep.
But I think a safety net, in my opinion, and you might relate to that, is we know that we have gained some skills. So if things goes to shits, we can always figure something out.
Yep.
And why do we say that? Just because we know that we have some skills, and we also have this never give up attitude of like, can always figure something out.
Yep.
If the worst comes to worst. And that's like more like a mental safety net, if one would say.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think that's a characteristic and a personal trait.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wish I knew if this is something that is considered as a talent or something you're born with, or is something you can kind of learn and train yourself into. But yeah, I also think it's difficult to know how fetched that is to reality, meaning that people can have a false feeling of a safety net, that they think I'll make it, and then if they don't make it, maybe they don't stand up. So yeah, I won't be on a podcast telling people to quit their education and go with their passion. I don't think that's a smart idea.
People need to feel that in the gut feeling for sure.
And I feel privileged and lucky to have been able to make it as well as I have by focusing on my passion. And I'm sure that there are many others who also are doing it and are going to do that.
Go back, talk to me about I guess your path of not choosing the education path. So if we backtrack of like before you even got into handstand, or maybe you were into handstand as a hobby at first, and then this opportunity came up for you where, okay, some people are interested in online coaching, and at that point in your life, were you thinking about that education, like an educational path was even an option? No. I
tried that before that. So after what's called videregående, I think that's high school, I took 1 year of work where I juggled around 5 jobs. I drove my Ferrari from job to job. And I thought that was fun, but I always had the intention of going back to school after. So I tried business school. And it didn't work for me at all. I was way too slow of a learner. I spent way too long to understand the concepts, the lectures and everything. I was too distracted. And it was also kind of a time when my family had a lot of diseases and like cancer, blood disease, all that kind of stuff. And that's distracting on a head.
Very.
So I quit school and had like a panic kind of thing in that period. And I quit, had no plans at all. And then I managed to gain 20 kilo in a week. That's how far out I was from everything. You have to imagine what a person have to do in order to gain 20 kilo body weight in one single week. That's not healthy behavior. And I was in a super dark place with all the stuff with the family and quitting school, no direction whatsoever. So I ended up doing a bicycle ride around Norway for 1 month. Going to Kiwi along the way to get some money, which was super fun, but just getting out of my normal patterns and stuff. And on that trip, I decided I wanted to hire a personal trainer to help me to get understanding of fitness and nutrition, because the reason why I ended up gaining that much weight was because I've undereaten and overtrained for a long period of time. I ate soup because I knew that if I eat less calories I get a six-pack, And I didn't know that it was unhealthy to do that. And then I got very good help leading up to that last marathon of mine. And that's also during that phase when I knew how much impact he had on my life, that I wanted to become a personal trainer myself. That if this means so much for me and it can turn around my darkness until something healthy, and I can have that impact on others. That's how I kind of wanted to go the personal trainer path.
Gotcha.
But at that point, when I started to work as a personal trainer, I started to get my clients, had an okay income and stuff. I never thought about the steps of going back to school or anything. I always thought that I was going to find some way within this that was going to be my living. And I am very bad at planning years ahead. I always like plan just my next few steps, and then I'm going to hope that I will be able to see opportunity. Maybe opportunity comes to me, and I will be able to capitalize on it. And that's how it happened. So and it happens by like one opportunity you seize, and then you go out of your comfort zone. Like, okay, I'm going to accept this client. And then, oh shit, I'm afraid of speaking in front of people. I'm going to do that workshop. And then many small steps like that leads to something.
It seems I get reminded of this a lot lately, where they talk about this kind of flywheel effect of life and decisions. Usually we all think about that it's more of a path, like a crossroad. Like either you go this way or you go that way. But that's not really how it works. It's more what you're describing of
many crossroads.
many small steps or decisions, and one thing leads to the other, and then it just spins around and it becomes more and more opportunities.
Yes. And then you're also trying to figure out which road leads to where you're attracted to.
I've always been a big planner myself, like strategically thinking about more years ahead rather than weeks ahead. So I've always had a bit of a trouble of accepting that way of dealing with things. But now, as I mature, I realize, there's a lot to that way, a lot of value in that. But
you obviously stepped out since you are here as well.
Right.
It's very far off, like moving to Bali.
And that didn't happen by planning either, actually. I realized. So the more and more I realize a lot of the good stuff are happening because there was just one mini step that led to another thing that led to another thing, and it was unforeseeable. And
that's, for me, that's also very exciting. Because it means that there are in my everyday, I love routine. I eat the same breakfast, I train at the same time, I eat the same food between meals and everything, and that makes me very happy. But after some months with that same routine, I need something to break out from it in order to not go insane.
Then you like that flexibility or variety you talked about.
And then I travel. I set myself a crazy goal. I drive my Ducati up the mountains. Like I need something in order to not go crazy doing just my own routine and my training and stuff.
I want to go somewhere different, where I remember reading a post of where you made a comparison, or rather, it was not even you. I think it was another person making a comparison between meditation and handstand, and
it was me.
Yeah, it was you, and you had a certain description of that where I think it can be a bit tied to, maybe that darkness you described of like sometimes it may seem like it's a meditation when we're on our hands or running a marathon, but then inside there's
a little world going on. That it started with I was in a sauna like 3 weeks ago or something, and then somebody talked about meditation and was very pro to meditation, and he was very spiritual about it. And then he mentioned me as an example because I'm a hand balancer, so that means that I also understand that meditation is very important and stuff. And I was like, okay, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything. And he kept going like, yeah, you know, we who meditate and stuff. And I was like,
don't put me in box.
okay, here we go. And I am as little spiritual as you find it better. I'm an atheist, and I love reality. I love grounded. I love research. I love studies. I love stuff that we can quantify and understand. I don't believe in stuff that is floating and stuff. And the reason why I mention this is because he was trying to put meditation on me, and I said that like, no, I'm not. I first started cool, like that's not really how it functions for me. I don't meditate. I rather do handstands, and then I focus on that and stuff. And he was like, yeah, but you are meditating when you are handstanding. That's for sure. I was like, no, I'm focusing. I'm being very focused on what I'm doing, and being in my own head about where my body is in space and stuff. Yeah, but that's kind of a meditation. I was like, what are meditation? I started to ask, like, yeah, it's when you are focusing on the present, you're breathing deeply, and then you are seeing within yourself, or something like that. And I was like, okay, I'll explain to you what's going inside my head when I'm good at training. In my head, I'm turned on. I'm so turned on that I nod my head up and down listening to heavy fucking music. I look around the room for nothing at all, just looking completely insane. I feel rage, I feel excitement, I feel enthusiasm, and I bring everything of that into focus on my hands when I'm doing a handstand. I feel pain often, not just pain, but like training, like you're pushing yourself hard in the gym, that kind of pain. I feel like I need to understand what's going on in my body. And there's all this stuff that is so intense that I need to do a handstand to get it out. And I also need it in order to do that well. That's not calmness. That is focus. It's intensity. I'm not meditating when I'm doing a handstand. That was that post. So I also believe that I have some sort of darkness inside that I have a need to get out. And if it wasn't handstand, it would be something else. I drive way too fast when I'm riding a motorcycle. If I didn't have hand balancing or some outlet, I think these kind of characteristics are the same as addicts. Like you need something, and you cannot get a sense of relief until you get that something. And I had food in that period that I mentioned earlier. That used to be before I kind of found my specific thing. Then I could have random outbursts where I just eat without having a stop or any sort of control of that. But yeah, I have handstands, so I don't need to do that.
Exactly. You found a better medium now.
Yes, and I don't think sitting still and meditating would be a good alternative for me.
I don't think it would be sufficient, at least.
Exactly.
And that's also, something. We all have human needs, and we have different human needs. Some people like this certainty and same. Others like more, like you say, flexibility or variety once in a while. You want routine in your everyday, but then you want variety in the macro.
Yes, exactly.
And this is also like alignment, I guess, being self-aware of like, who am I, what do I value, what do I need, and how can I find a good medium, I guess, to feel that need. Because sometimes people choose eating to change their state of mind. Others choose meditation or and balancing or
drugs.
But yeah, there's a lot that you share there that could be unpacked, and I'm curious when it comes to this need of I guess I don't know what we're gonna call it, like the darkness within, or it almost reminds me a bit, I'm sure you know, like David Goggins. Do you know?
That's a familiar name. Remind me.
Yeah, he used to be in the Navy SEALs and stuff. He has a book where he grew up with a lot of pain, and one of his ways of changing his life and finding self-worth was really pushing himself, getting into the Navy SEALs and then running marathons, ultra marathons. And I guess the similarity is like, finding a medium to unleash that, or I guess handle that need or pain or whatever you want to call it. How do you see that of when did you realize that that's something you needed to unleash, and that hand balancing was the perfect way to do so.
This goes back to a lot of childhood traumas and stuff like that.
I'm sure it is, yeah.
But I can talk about that as well as shortly.
You can keep it brief, yeah.
Yeah. My oldest brother is handicapped.
Okay.
And he's taller than me, and he gets seizures. And when he gets seizures standing, head, asphalt.
Yeah.
So he's been very much to the hospital. And then my mother had cancer 3 times in my youth. And then my other healthy brother got a very rare blood disease. Wow. So he was also close to death. And this have happened when I was a teenager throughout my 20s. So it's been so much stuff going on with lethal stuff with people I'm close to that possibly have repressed kind of some of my needs to be seen and stuff. And then I have felt the need to make up for it. So I've been attracted to stuff that stands out and that gets attention. So the need of kind of trying to push my own limits to maybe get some sort of acknowledgement. And that's possibly what drives somebody to do something as flashy as balancing on your hands. That's why that's attractive to me. So I think that's all connected to that.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's a lot there with...
it's a lot.
Not one family member, but 3 family members.
Yeah.
And also during those teenage years.
We had everything.
Yeah.
It does shape you as a human, and you have to deal with it in one way or another. And I decided that I need to stay focused on not collapsing myself, and I need to find my own outlets and do that on my own. And find my own path to whatever I need to do in order to live a happy life, and try not to think too much about all the bad stuff that comes from that time.
I understand. I think when it comes to high performance athletes, if one wants to box them into that kind of description, I mean, I've been an athlete myself for 21 years, and not that I had too much pain in my life. I would say I had a really good childhood, but a few things that I was missing was maybe recognition to the level that I wanted from my parents, for example. And that always leads to this some form of drive to keep on want to prove yourself and get that significance or attention, if you call it. And I think there's very few people who understands that part of, what makes you able to go day after day after day for hours and hours and keep on honing your craft as a hand balancer. And the same goes for me, your tennis or whatever sport it might be. Not a lot of people understand that. And they just look at like, oh wow, amazing what you're able to do. And they have literally no idea of what it took to get you to that place.
There's something deeper that this is kind of a reaction from. I guess.
I guess to keep on going on that track of how long do you think there's an end to it, or there's maybe a better way to say this? Do you feel like you're sounds weird to use that word, but healing yourself more and more for every year that goes by? So
yes, I think so. I think that has to do with getting more mature and knowing more who I am, and trusting that I'm developing in a way that is sustainable, that I enjoy and stuff like that. So I feel, especially over the last few years, where I also have been able to make good business decisions, I feel more, I trust myself more, and I feel more sane with everything. Because before the last few years, I've only been good at hand balancing. And it's strange to say that like you identify yourself with business, but it's true. I like the feeling of having success, and I think that it makes me feel secure. And now that I make enough to get that sense, And that helps me to feel more confident in my own decision making.
Yeah.
So I'm not just a clown doing or the circus, whatever, being weird and spending all my time at the gym. I've also been able to make a okay business out of it. And being able to provide something that people are enjoying as well and get some value out of.
Yeah.
That makes me feel like I contribute to society as well.
Yeah.
Not just doing whatever I think is fun.
Yeah.
And then that is a big part of my healing. So more nuances, more involvement of other people as well, I guess.
There's always this feedback loop of like we start with a belief, and then we get into emotional state, and that makes us take a certain actions, and then we get certain results, and then the results we get makes us believe even more. And that brings into that confidence you're talking about, that you have achieved a lot of good stuff, and to our definition of success, it's very few people that are able to make a living and career out of something that they do love and are passionate about, like you are with your handstand, and able to coach people on that, sort of like, maybe not similar journey, but you're taking them on a journey from a beginner to intermediate to advanced, and
I get to also, when I see that my clients are making huge steps, I feel like I make huge steps. So when I see somebody do their first press, I remember how hard I worked for my first press. It took 3.5 years. I've worked so damn hard on it. I failed so much, and then I did it, and I was so incredibly happy for a very long time. I was so proud, and then I feel like I'm a little part of helping somebody else get that same feeling, and then I get that feeling all over again. So it's kind of a way to keep my progress going on, even though it's not with me. Because I'm at that stage in my career where I've been handstanding for 11 years. That means that the progress are not as good as they used to. And if I were to take my level even further, I would need to make many sacrifices, more than I'm doing now. I'm not just talking about training 3-4 hours a day, but not being able to have flexibility, not being able to travel to teach workshops and stuff like that. So I'm not willing to make that sacrifice anymore, but it's still good for me to know that I can have feeling of success within handstands that is just as intense, but for others.
No, definitely. And that is an amazing feeling. That, I mean, you can get that feeling in a lot of places, I guess, but I think coaching or being a teacher or coach is one of the best ways to do that. And I guess as we're trying to wrap up here a bit, what do you, even though you're not a planner for years ahead, what are some things that you have inside for the next couple of months, or however long time period you would want to go about it?
Couple of months plans. Tomorrow I'll go from Bali back to Norway. I'll spend 3 weeks there, and then I'm going to US to teach some workshops. And then I'll have summer vacation, or not vacation, but I will do workshops. I'll enjoy the mountains and my Ducati. I hope to find love sometime, and then I'll do workshops during fall. That is kind of the half-year plan, and I'll go back here again during winter. Long-term plan, I don't have anything other than what I'm doing, and then continuing to build on that. And what is new there is that I have just started a group coaching concept in order to scale, being able to work with more people at the same time to help more people doing handstands, and also, of course, taking steps in business. And then I will continue to develop it, continue to scale more, and figure out more way to keep the coaching functioning well for clients and be sustainable for me, which hits both targets of helping more people and also more security within my business, which makes me feel awesome.
Right. Yeah, like we talked about a month ago or so, that building a business that as it gets bigger, life also gets better. Where your lifestyle gets better basically, and you can keep on giving more value to people also at the same time. So super exciting. And if anyone wants to find out more about you, following your handstand, look at all your beautiful handstand poses and be amazed. Where can I find you?
I'm very active on Instagram. That's my media platform. I'm called UlrikOnHands. And I am also trying to see if YouTube is something that I want to focus on, but it's a lot of work. But I'm trying to do some vlogs here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Same name there, UlrikOnHands.
Yeah. Amazing. Thanks for being here and taking the time, Ulrik.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.